All right. So welcome again. Thank you so much both for being here. Let's start with some introductions. Let's start with David from AgUnity. If you can let us know a little bit about your background and what you're currently working on.
Yeah, sure. So, I'm the founder of AgUnity. We've been running for 6 years. And what we do is relatively simple. We take really low-cost smartphones and we adapt them to work for the very lowest income farmers in the world. People in Ethiopia and Papua New Guinea that live on a couple of dollars a day, live in really remote regions. And so we make phones so that they've got a simple interface that they can understand. They work when there's no connectivity, and they help the farmers organize themselves better, which seems like such a simple thing, but we've seen entire villages increase their incomes by like 3 times in a season after having this. And largely, we're just reducing waste. And then AgUnity works on a lot of other things, from food traceability. And then one of the organizations we worked with recently, Worldfish and Fishbase, have a big funding challenge every year. And we realized that this is certainly the best story I've ever heard of for using NFTs in a real way. And we'll get to later how we're planning to do that. But AgUnity does a lot of these things to help the environment and good causes and things.
Awesome. Looking forward to hearing more about that. And over to you, Dave.
Yeah, sure. So I'm the founder of the Crypto Den initially, and the Crypto Den, we teach people that are sort of new to our industry about cryptocurrencies and blockchains and how to interact with them and use them and trade them, and basically just a overall sort of education on the industry. And we run a really large online community with nearly 55,000 members. And I guess the reason behind us deciding to launch the Australian Crypto Convention was exactly for those people, for the community. And what we wanted to create was two things. One would be a in-person space for people that are already in this industry to meet up and say hello face to face to the people that they've been talking to online for the last 5 years. And give them that sort of outlet and that space to interact with people that are into cryptocurrencies and blockchains. And then the other one was the other side of the coin was to give people a place to learn about cryptocurrencies that wasn't on the internet, and to give people that opportunity to understand that cryptocurrency is more than just Bitcoin. It's more than just blockchain. There are real life utilities and use cases to the technology that's being built around the world that goes beyond that financial border, which is exactly what you guys are doing, David. So, and I think the more opportunity that we can create as an industry for people to learn that, and they see that it's not just pretend internet money, then, I think that's when we're going to see a faster adoption of the technology in the right way, which is really important for me, rather than just being that financial instrument or, that get rich quick. And, we need to change the way people look at this industry and really see it for what it actually is.
Perfect. I think before even asking any other questions, David, I think that's something you align with a lot. Do you want to take an extension on what Dave just said around what crypto is meant to be?
Well, it goes back to the origin of crypto. So, I was fortunate and unfortunate. I had previously been working at very high levels in investment banking in technology. I was at Goldman Sachs, and then I was Asian head of treasury technology for Lehman Brothers right up until the GFC. So we were holding the ball right up until to the last minute. Treasury keeps the bank running, basically. So we probably gave Lehman and a couple of extra months of life, where otherwise it wouldn't crash because we were funding it so well. But when it fell apart, immediately after that, I was very shocked by what had caused the crash and the deficiencies in the financial system. And that's the time that Bitcoin came about, and the original Satoshi white paper and the working groups around that. And the dialogue then was all about how crypto can change the world, how there's fundamental flaws in the banking system, and we can create new parallel economies around specific purposes. that's what crypto and Bitcoin were meant to be. But then, somewhere along the way, they kind of got a little bit lost, right? It became about, making money and, getting Lamborghinis and all those sorts of things, which that's not the real meaning. Crypto could be so much more. It can do real material things. And, AgUnity's working on some, and Fishbase is a great example. So there's some incredible examples about what crypto could be, but maybe it's just a little bit immature yet. And also it did have that period where a lot of people did make a lot of money, and it made it very attractive to a certain sort of people. And I think we're just now seeing it evolve into something much, much more. We're seeing great technology come out of it. And now we've got to see is these really great use cases. Crypto and Bitcoin being applied in ways that really change the world for the better. And once it does that, it's going to lose, its past reputation. It's going to give a lot of people confidence in it, and we'll see a lot more come into it. And that drives growth for the whole industry and potentially makes a lot of things in the world a lot better, because it can do things, and we can dump into some of them later. There's some things that you can do so much better using crypto or NFTs as a foundation.
Amazing. I think that leads really nicely into thinking about, where is crypto and the blockchain industry heading, and what can we expect to see in the near future as more and more people are thinking this way and seeing different use cases. So I'd love to hear both of your perspectives. Maybe we'll start with Dave. What do you think?
I think that one of the biggest things that crypto was designed for was to basically get rid of the banks, right? And cut out that middleman of that custodian of that entity that holds all your money and has total control over all of your money. And I think that, the fact that we can have our own wallets that we control, no one can touch it, no one can take what's ours, that is extremely, extremely important to, I think, the future of everyone in every country. I mean, there's so many countries that don't even have access to banks. There's so many countries that can't store their own wealth or their own money. And, cryptocurrency as a whole, regardless of the coin, or whether it's Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever, cryptocurrency in general and the technology behind it gives people that access to money that they otherwise wouldn't have had, which, that in itself, if you really take a step back and think about it, that's groundbreaking. That's something that has changed the entire world in a very, very short amount of time. We've got countries that have been in poverty and had no access to funds for how many decades, how many centuries, and within a 10-year period, that problem is solved. Which it's a drop in the ocean of time, really. So I think once we get more maturity and more adoption and more liquidity in the market as well, and it's subject to less volatility, because it's the volatility that scares people. I don't think it's the message. I don't think it's the underlying asset. It's that volatility that the media jumps on a lot, and it's it's up, it's down. And, once that disappears with more maturity and liquidity in the markets, then I think you're going to see greater adoption across the board.
Definitely. Wow. The alignment of the values, and what I see David smiling over there is, it's amazing. So David, what would you like to respond or add on to that?
Well, maybe we just use the example of what we're doing. I mean, AgUnity, as I said, we give phones to farmers. We've given to, a dozen countries all around the developing world. We work with a lot of leading NGOs. We've greatly reduced waste and efficiency in those farmers' supply chains. But there was one problem that we couldn't solve, right? And it's just that farmers get really low prices, and that doesn't matter whether you're a farmer or, a big wheat farmer in Australia, or a small coffee farmer in Ethiopia. Like, the supply trains have squeezed that end really badly. And with a lot of commodities that almost every one of us uses one of these main things every day. If you go coffee, tea, vanilla, cocoa for chocolate, spices and coconut products that are in almost all your cosmetics, almost all of those products come from developing communities that are seriously impoverished. Those farmers are often earning a couple of dollars a day. And it wasn't always that case. Like, coffee industry, if you go back 30 years, a coffee farmer was getting about 10 to 15% of the value of your cup of coffee. according to FAO. Now they're getting about 2%. And let's face it, we pay a ton more for coffee in Australia or developed world than we used to 30 years ago. You know, we now boutique coffees and things. The farmers got less. And so one of the things we tried to do last year, because, you know, we were looking at this problem, we're helping these farmers a lot, but what can we do to help more? So we created a digital reward token system, which is because we need to be really safe regulatory space. So we spent a ton of money on lawyers to make sure we're safe. It's a reward token. It's a cryptocurrency, but it's a lot more like a frequent flyer program to make sure we stay in a safely regulated space. And this enabled, we got 2 communities that are using this already in Ethiopia and Papua New Guinea. And this allows us, you know, we've got a great project coming in a few months with a major coffee company. You'll go into their coffee shop, and when you buy a coffee, you'll get a card, and you scan the card, and you get to pick one of the farmers that grew your coffee, and you release 40 cents from the coffee company direct to them. So it doesn't come out of the consumer's pocket. This is a way that the coffee company can directly make sure that those farmers that grew the coffee got paid properly for it. And there's no other way the coffee company can do that, because there's like 6 or 7 middlemen between them and the farmer. So even if they paid more, those middlemen would take most of it. So this system allows you, the coffee company, to say, okay, you buy a coffee company off us, we'll give you 40 cents to choose which farmer you want to give it to. If the coffee consumer wants to give them a bit more, they can. But, you know, no onus. And 40 cents is a lot of money in Ethiopia. That's like feed a family for the day there. And you've taken your cup of coffee and you've said, you know, of my $5 cup of coffee or whatever paid in the coffee shop, 40 cents of that's going directly to a farmer. I choose who they are, and the farmer can say thank you in real time. Thank you to the system. And we've got it used in those communities, and they can use it to, you know, pay off their phones or buy farm supplies. And, you know, we're working on now that they can use it in their local shops and pay the school fees and other stuff for it. And then, very interestingly, in Papua New Guinea, they automatically started trading amongst themselves. We didn't need to tell them to do that. They just realized that, hey, I've got something of value and I can buy some fish and I can just move it around. So it's interesting how
good is that?
A very remote community could twig onto the fact that, hey, I've got a new currency, and it's not their local kina, it's just something else, but they could use it as a currency for trading. And I think once we stimulate that a bit, we'll see a lot more. And that's a fantastic example of what cryptocurrencies can do for good.
Absolutely. That's
no
brilliant,
one's making any money off this. We're just allowing something that previously couldn't happen to happen.
So that 40 cents, that goes directly to that farmer on the blockchain, right? So there's no middleman. That's all blockchain.
Yeah, there's no taking, you know, AgUnity's not taking anything, the coffee company's not taking anything, but most importantly, all the suppliers and middlemen who would normally be taking their clip. I mean, actually, AgUnity's biggest customer is Fairtrade International, and I know I have incredible respect. They are the gold standard for making sure that some percentage of what you pay gets to the farmer. And you know, there's no one better than Fairtrade. All the other sustainable brands are like leagues behind them. But Fairtrade probably, in best case, gets about 25% of what you pay extra. Whereas we're saying 40 cents, you pay it or the coffee company pays it, it's going 100% to the farmer. So this is a really new way, and hopefully over the future years, we can encourage Fairtrade to do their rewards and premiums in a similar way, and hopefully bring a lot of the commercial companies that make much more coffee. We can get them doing some of it, as well as the cocoa industry, the vanilla industry, tea industry, all those.
That's really good. And that's the sort of real world use case, like you said, that cryptocurrency was designed for. I'd love to see charities and charitable organizations adopting this model. Let's put them on blockchain.
As you mention it, we've got the first use case coming up, and that's the Worldfish one that Fishbase one that I mentioned. So just for background, Fishbase is the global repository of fish information. So, marine organizations, they take photos of new species and they record it all in Fishbase. It's an absolutely vital industry for research and for fishing industries and for nations to control their fish slops. And as we all know, the marine ecosystems of the world are just paramount to life on Earth. So this is a vital research. Now, every year, that organization has to go out cap in hand to a bunch of, funders and just see who's going to stomp up a couple of $100,000 to keep them operating. And that's a terrible way to operate it. So we've now got a model that we're working with Fishbase to put all those fish species, which is about 34,000. We're going to create NFTs for them. And then people can actually buy the NFT. You know, imagine owning the NFT for the great white shark.
Yeah, that's cool.
You become the global custodian. And it's not like a stupid monkey NFT, right? It's an NFT that's got a real purpose. Like when I own it, I'm actually custodian of the great white shark. I
think we just became best friends, David.
So, once I own that, then I'm the global custodian forever. And I pay a little bit every year to just upkeep the data. But I also have the opportunity to say, hey, there's a lot of other researchers doing research on, my shark, not, great white shark would be a very obvious one, but say I get like a more discrete animal, a particular type of frogfish or something, I can go out and look who's researching the frogfish, and I can go encourage them, why don't you put your data in Fishbase? And that actually increases the value of my NFT. So not only have we got this like actual real meaning behind it, but there's something people can do to increase the value of Fishbase, which should then reflect on the value of their NFT.
Oh, I'm loving this. What blockchain is that being built on?
Oh, we haven't decided the blockchain yet, actually. One of the important things, there was a bit of World Wildlife Fund did a little bit of a pilot that was somewhat similar, and they unfortunately chose Ethereum, and they got a lot of blowback because of the carbon capture.
Yeah.
So we're building the framework of the system, and we're just talking to the very carbon neutral blockchains, and we're trying to get key support. So one of the things are actually
let me talk to you maybe after this interview about a possibility for you, if that's okay. Something that's
please do, yeah.
That's green energy.
So one of the things we'll be doing at the conference is sort of touting this, because the reason we haven't chosen the blockchain is we're hoping we find. I just came back literally from Malaysia, where I speak, making sure that we got all the Worldfish and Fishbase organization on board, because it's quite a big organization.
Huge.
They're very conservative researchers, and they are so enthusiastic. Once we've covered all the risks and things, they're very enthusiastic.
Yeah, that's good.
We've now got some of the preeminent marine researchers in the world that are just beside themselves because they're seeing a new model, and so they're very supportive of this. And so now we've got that support. The next thing is to go out and say, okay, which blockchain wants to do something really good for the world, and support a new initiative that, hopefully if we do this well for marine ecosystems, birds, animals, everything, we've got a template for do it for the whole thing, for the whole world, and that starts a new mechanism for conservation.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. And I've got the perfect partner for you. Trust me. I'll talk to you about it after this for sure.
Fantastic. Look forward to meeting you at the convention. So, and that goes to your point, Dave. Like, that's why these conventions are so important.
Exactly
right?
what I was just going to say. Bringing it back to the
people together so we can have these conversations and make people know what's happening. Show off the great work we're doing. We're bringing people from the Worldfish organization to this event just so that they can talk about their particular problem, as well as people that work in the impact investment side area who can explain how difficult it is, or even though there's tons of money out there for philanthropy, how you funnel that effectively into the organizations that really need it. So we'll have a really good panel that discusses exactly this topic, and how hopefully we're setting a model that can be used for a whole lot of other organizations in the future.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And it's adaptable, isn't it? Like, I mean, you can adapt that model in and tweak it to suit so many different industries.
Absolutely. What I'm most excited about actually and it's a little bit away, but we've got a couple of projects in our community, going back to AgUnity now and our community of farmers. We've got a couple of projects where organizations have tried to get our farmers growing regeneratively or planting trees for carbon credits. And it's fascinating because we did the numbers for, say, our Ethiopian coffee farmers. And to be honest, they should all give up coffee. They should start growing trees for carbon credit. They'd make tons more money.
Yeah, good point.
But there's no framework where that works for them. So we've got organizations that do that now, but they basically pay the farmers for 5 years to grow a tree for carbon credits, because it's a long time before they get paid. And let's face it, no Ethiopian farmer is going to wait 5 years to get paid. here's what I think is the best cryptocurrency use. Imagine if my son was going to take his pocket money and lend it to a farmer in Ethiopia who grows regenerative on his farm. Eventually, a few years later, they get a certified carbon credit from it and they share the return. There's my son who would have got no interest in the bank nowadays. He's probably doubled his money by investing, helping lift a farmer out of poverty. And then the farmer's made a ton of money by growing regenerative in an area where they're normally not intentionally, but through need, destroying the environment. And it's so easy to encourage those farmers to do something really sustainable, but no one's got the money or the mechanism to do. And like AgUnity can literally do that now. And that's one of the programs that we'll be using the AgriUT token to do.
That's brilliant, mate, because like you can take away the old Dolomites account for the kids and do exactly that.
Yeah. And what a great thing to tell your friends about. Like, you know, I'm paying an Ethiopian farmer to grow trees, and here's a picture of his farm, and now he's recycling compost. And there's so many great ways to sequester carbon and grow sustainably and regenerate land and create environmentals. Without it, like we work all across the world in dozens of countries, and there's none of those communities that wouldn't take up much more sustainable regenerative practices for tiny amounts of money. It's so easy to encourage them to do it. And now there's carbon credit KBCs come on where there'll be a return for that. So everything's kind of there and formulating. But you can imagine, you know, there's about this is an interesting number. According to the FAO, there's about 570 million farmers in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Of those 570 million, about 70 million are the farmers that we would recognize, you know, an Australian farmer or something, even the very small ones.
Wow.
500 million, 500 million farmers
Yeah.
who actually support an ecosystem of 3.1 billion people are micro farmers. So 1 or 2 acres living below poverty in really remote regions. That's the biggest population group in the world. Imagine if you got that 500 million, but it's really 3 billion people focused on improving the climate, improving the environment. You'd be fixing things so much quicker than us in the developed world can do for a fraction of the cost. And it's just, we just need to make that gap. And this is something that can give real meaning to crypto. And if we can get it working in that way, then I'm sure we'll turn the whole world to think, yeah, crypto is this thing that can fix all these systemic problems.
Yeah, hopefully more people will start to see it the way we do.
Yeah, hopefully. And that's, you know, that's our job, right?
I think my question is the world ready for this? Like,
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the world needs it. I think they don't even know that they need it, but they do. And, you know, the infrastructure's there. Everything's set up for this. The technology's ready. Everything's ready. We just need to get people to get out of their own way. I mean, even my old man, you know, I try to explain to him what crypto is and what Bitcoin is and all that, and you know, he so quickly dismisses it, you know, and he's part of a huge population of people that do that, and they just need to get out of their own way and open their minds and just start to really learn the capability that's in front of them of that this technology provides.
And I think that's a perfect segue into the crypto convention and what it's doing, bringing people from all different areas into a single space to give people a chance to learn about it, to, you know, try it out, play with it a little bit, connect with people and network. So really kudos to you, Dave, and the team for organizing this convention, because it's going to be an incredible 2 days. And I'm really confident that the stories and conversations that you're talking about now are going to change the face of this revolution and change what people are thinking and, you know, connecting it to in the traditional sense.
I certainly hope so.
If it doesn't, we're just going to have to continue doing and organize another convention until it happens.
Well, we'll just keep plugging away at it. I think that was a discussion I was having in Malaysia with the fish-based team there, because I was at their annual convention. So we had all the people from the world, you know, right from researchers from French universities to people from remote islands. We had an incredibly diverse community of people that are the key people in marine conservation, or from all over the world. And they got so excited about this project. And why I think that is such a great example is it's so easy for people to understand. It doesn't require that sort of little leap in understanding, like the supply chain complexities of the coffee industry, to know why you would want to give a farmer an extra 40 cents. Like AgUnity's had that problem with AgriUT, that, you know, a normal consumer doesn't realize that by drinking coffee and not doing anything about it, you're actually perpetuating exploitation. I mean, I know you're not doing it deliberately, but most people in the world are, you know, perpetuating exploitation. And it's a bit hard to sort of explain that to them. But that's why the fish-based example is so great, because, like, you know, database of species, I get to own one, I get to be the custodian. People can relate to that, and they can understand that the money's going straight to that organization. They use it to expand this database and help marine conservation, help fishing industries and all those things.
And what's important about that, though, is they can see that the money's going there because it's transparent on a public ledger. That's the biggest thing for me when it comes to charities and all that, is that you can't see where the money's going. You don't know that the person that's supposed to receive it is actually getting any of the money. And by putting that on blockchain, that eliminates any doubt or any need for trust, because it's just is, you know, you can see it. So, and that use of NFTs that's a real use case that means something. And I'm 100% with you when you're talking about stupid monkeys and crap like that. I was pretty late to the NFT sort of revolution last year, because I seen the monkeys, right? And what do they call them? All the crypto punks and apes and just crap like that. And I thought, this is absolutely garbage. This is just, you know, money laundering, or, you know, something. It's got to be something silly like that, you know. And the prices that these apes were selling for was just outrageous. So I sort of dismissed it at first, and then I started to see more and more of it. And I thought, okay, I've got to learn what this is and what the technology is. And straight away, David, I've seen it the same way you did, is that this shouldn't be used on yachts and monkeys on yachts and crap like that. This should be used for custodian, you know, applications and ownership. I mean, I was talking to a lady only this morning who she wrote a book, and the book sells for $30 US, and she receives 40 cents per book, and the publishing company keeps the rest. 40 cents a book. You know, this woman spent 2 years of her life writing this book, and she makes 40 cents. And I thought that's another use case for NFTs. You know, music industry, the producing companies makes 70% in some cases. You know, the artist is only getting 30% of their own work. So that's the real use case for me, is anything that's custodian and you know, ownership of content or property. That's where it's at, not stupid monkeys.
Yeah, I absolutely couldn't agree with you more, Dave. And I think the point you just raised about, you know, charities and people not knowing where the money goes. You know, like I said, fair trade's like a gold standard in this, and that's about a quarter. Yeah. Most of them don't even get close to that. A lot of the sustainable coffee brands, it's like 10%. Like essentially, they're marketing organizations. They do a lot of brand recognition to say we're sustainable and we buy from these right groups. If you're lucky, 10% of that gets to the farmer.
Oh, it makes you sick, doesn't it?
Yeah. And then there's charities that get even lower than that. That most of the money they spend raising money and then operational expenses and not really doing anything. They're more of a kind of a business around acting like a charity without really caring how much gets there. And there are some very good ones, but yeah, you know, and then the very good ones, they have the problem because they're not marketing, they're not competing against the ones that do market. And they struggle to raise funds. They rely on these, like, you know, really tricky relationships with billionaires and things that will do a big donation into them, because they can't run around groups. They don't run gala dinners and stuff like that, which is, you know, the most stupid aspect of the charity community. Let's have a big flash dinner in a hotel and waste a lot of food when we're trying to help people out of poverty. That just doesn't make sense, does it?
It grinds your gears, eh? Oh, mate, that really bugs me.
There's one other aspect that I'm really excited that I think the fish-based NFTs will have in the future. That if we create, you know, NFTs for all the fish in the world, and people own them. I think there's a natural evolution of those to go into metaverse games where you create a digital environment of a marine ecosystem, and you've got to have the right creatures, and like a Sims for the thing. I'm sure a lot of the metaverse games will go in that direction, and we can use the people that have got the NFTs can give the right, I've got a dying reef system and I need to put in something to eat the starfish, and then I need to put some sharks in because I've got imbalance.
That's cool. I really like that. There's actually an Aussie company, I think they're called Reef-Fi, REEF-Fi. And they're like geo mapping the Great Barrier Reef. So they've got like underwater drones, and they're creating sort of like a metaverse type Great Barrier Reef, and you can actually utilize their technology to actually go in and check the quality of the reef as well. So that's what they're using it for, to try to sort of help sustain that Great Barrier Reef. But I mean, if you took that and sort of merged the two together there, mate, you've got your underwater metaverse, and then you've got your NFTs. That's brilliant.
It's like, I love that idea. I think that's the natural evolution we're going, because if you want to have these metaverse games, have them being real and make them a really good educational and experience, so people understand what could destroy a reef. Taking too many big fish out of the reef, or taking the sharks out of the reef, can destroy an ecosystem, and we overfish sharks terribly. And this is a great way for people to understand how that happens, and then linking the NFTs to that. So again, that's as we're working at the moment, where we've got a really great company, that Planet Neo, that's been doing these sorts of gaming environments already, not in marine, but they've developed incredibly sophisticated smart contracts that allow the NFTs to be interactive with games and other environments, so we can have all these things interacting together. And so I see an amazing future for information in this way, and that then puts real ordinary people value into the NFT system. Yeah,
brilliant. You're going to meet so many people at this convention, mate, that are just going to blow your mind. Like you can talk to a lot of people about this. You got the guys from TCG World that are coming. They've got a huge presence, and they've built the largest metaverse in the world. Wow. And they can really implement a lot of what you're saying. So I'd be more than happy to make some introductions for you, mate, because I think there's
fantastic. I think we're going to have a very busy weekend, and we've brought a few really good people over. Like the fish-based people. So it'll be an interesting conversation to see crypto metaverse people dealing with multiple PhD marine biologists that are completely new to this world and can explain problems.
You might need a translator in there somewhere, I reckon.
Sounds like
that's actually the role AgUnity does in this. We have our thing helping farmers. We came across Worldfish and Fishbase because of marine project. Like what AgUnity does for farmers works really well for fisher folk. You can track catches, you can help improve their productivity, you can make sure fresh fish are going where they need to do. All the stuff we do for farmers works just as well for fisher folk. And we can also do incredibly good tracking from source. And so we started talking to them on that, and then we thought, what a wonderful NFT story, but we're only doing this to help that organization. That's AgUnity's game, and hopefully we'll introduce some of these NFT metaverse people and crypto people, and then AgUnity can step back and get back to helping lift farmers out of poverty.
And I think you said it's going to be a busy weekend. I think it's going to be a busy few months and few years ahead with all the connections that are going to be made on that weekend. So
I think so. I mean, I've blocked out my entire week following the convention just in anticipation of exactly that. So I've already got people booking up days following the convention. So, but the networking aspect is going to be something that's never been done in Australia in the crypto industry.
And
we're only, definitely. It's nothing on this level. This is huge. And to have so many thousands of people that are all there for the same reasons, and let's face it, a lot of them are there for networking. So
and let's face it, the people showing up in this bear market are the people that are going to be here for the long term and actually change the face.
Exactly.
The builders.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That was a good learning after the crashes in financial market. The people that survive and that are still doing good things, they're the ones that hold on, whereas certain others
Yeah.
Tried to push their luck too much, and they disappear.
Mhm.
And it comes lately. What you're doing for this industry, which can be transformative on the world, and that's probably the key point I like to sort of conclude on. That, like, I think the whole point of this is built not crypto for crypto's sake.
Yeah.
Actually, and that really comes back to why crypto exists. Like, currencies aren't really real. Currencies only exist so we can do stuff with it. And
Yeah.
crypto should be the same. It should only exist because we can help environment, or we can help lift
I
people.
could not agree with you more.
Money.
Yeah.
It's a means to an end.
Yeah.
So
There's over 20,000 crypto coins and tokens in existence at the moment, like individual coins. And I mean, most of them are just absolute crap, aren't they?
Yeah.
I agree with you. Not crypto for crypto's sake. If you find, or if you have a real life problem that can be solved with a new blockchain and perhaps a coin with that, then great, build it. Build it as much as you can, but don't just build something hoping to find a use case for it.
Exactly.
It's backwards, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you had to advance some of the technology because, Ethereum was an incredibly important step in crypto, and some of the evolutions of that were definitely needed to be done. But now we've developed the tech. It's so sophisticated. You can do, the DeFi space, which I'm not entirely a big fan on for a lot of reasons. Coming from a very regulated part of banking, I've got a lot of concern as what's going to happen in DeFi space. But DeFi space rivals banking industry in a lot of respects. It's like so sophisticated. We got the tech, so now let's put the tech aside, stop talking about that, and talk about what we can achieve with it. So I think once we get the world focused on what you can do, it suddenly becomes a means to an end, and that's when a means to an end that people care about in a lot of cases. And I think that's when crypto will see its whole life, and it'll come out of its teenage years and actually become a mature part of the world.
Yeah, I think I read a thing a little while ago on an Olympic runner years ago that finally broke that 10-second mark, right? And for years leading up to it, no one could beat it. And then the second one person did it, everyone did it. And I think that's what's going to happen in the crypto space as well. Once one person really clicks, or one organization, and produces something of meaning and value that can change the world at that very first time, then I think that's when we're going to have this big cascading effect of all of these other companies going, well, hang on a second, this isn't just about making money. Let's make a difference. And that's why this exists.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think we're coming together at exactly the right time. And
yeah,
perfect.
It'd be great to just be a small part of that pivotal moment in crypto, but more important, let's take it back from crypto for a minute. The bigger problem, I think, and that's the reason crypto exists, is there are fundamental things wrong in the world. There are things that just don't work as good as they should. Why does an organization like Fishbase need to go out to a bunch of governments and say, who's got some money for me?
Yeah.
If you just went across the world, like most people in the world would agree that an organization that is necessary, it should be funded. If we just said we allocated something to it, I'm sure the people of the world would say that should have value. We don't need to go through governments and banks that are the gatekeepers on the financial system. Like, if we can create a circumvent that, we can change the way the world works. And I think that is the real future.
And there's an element there that, could be used in the DAOs, like the decentralized autonomous organizations. And I think that is going to be a really big step in the future of finance, is having that community governed financial aspect where the people will vote as to what's done with the funds.
Absolutely.
Rather than going through the banks and the governments and things like that. Let's put the power back to the people, which is what this was all for, right?
Yeah,
and
that's
give
the reason.
them a say.
I think there's a lot of, and this goes on to another topic that I think, as I said, I used to work in very highly regulated areas of investment banking, and we know regulators personally, because particularly when I was at Goldman Sachs, there's like a revolving elevator, but revolving door between them and the SEC, right? Everyone in the SEC is ex-banking in some respect, and they do a couple of years there and they come back. So the SEC really is bankers. Everything they do is about protecting the banking industry because they're going to go back with a better job. So they think very much in those terms. And part of the mistake the crypto industry makes with things like DeFi and stable coins and things that are doing stuff that's in their space is you're threatening their world. If we go back to we're going to improve philanthropy, we're going to improve food supply chains, then you're actually doing something that the banking industry isn't. So you certainly firstly come away from being a threat,
Yeah.
and then you come away from being a regulatory problem as well. So I think this is it'd be a great thing for the crypto industry. Once it starts doing things for purpose, it will also escape a lot of that regulatory scrutiny and other stuff.
Yeah.
This is probably one of the best conversations I've been in all week, all month, all year. Like, absolutely incredible. Thank you both.
You'd love to see the one we had over beers with, like I was at a table, God, it's last night actually. I was at a table last night with 10 people from the fish-based conference, and every one of them had PhDs, and some of them had 3 and 4. And there's poor me sitting there explaining crypto and new world orders, new world orders to them. And it was a very similar. It would have been a great conversation to
fish out of water, Dave.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's actually a nice lead into, this is hopefully not the last conversation we'll have. It's the first one that we've had together, and I'd love to continue having these. We're about to launch a podcast with AgriUT Foundation to have conversations with leaders that are doing incredible things, and you two are part of that. So I look forward to organizing more sessions and diving deeper into some of the topics that you've covered, because wow, there's so much more that we can talk about, and so much more and other people's perspectives that we can bring into it. So I really look forward to organizing that.
Yeah, sounds good.
Fantastic. Thank you for hosting it, Carmen. Dave, thank you for putting on a wonderful conference. We look forward to seeing you on the weekend.
Yeah, can't wait. Looking forward to it. And we'll definitely sit down and have some beers together, mate. I'd love to chat more.
Absolutely.
And don't forget, reach out to me after this as well, mate. And I'll put you in contact with some very good people that might be able to help.
Excellent. We will do. Thank you.
That's good. Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Have a good day.
You too.
For
Thanks
a great
very much.
session. Bye.
Cheers.
Well,
Bye.
you all.